Hi, I'm Mark Beck.
I'm Stephanie Thompson.
And I'm Meghan Salois, and we are coming to you from Sunset Plaza here in Kalispell, Montana.
And this is Selling Montana, a podcast about real estate, business, and entrepreneurship here in Montana. And today we've got an incredible guest with us, Mr. Matt Hall from Flathead Premier Title. If you're buying real estate in the Flathead or in Montana in the next couple of years, you're definitely going to want to keep listening to this.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good to have you finally. I know we've been promising this, and you're one of my favorite faces in, I guess, the real estate industry. It usually means that I'm coming in to get some money, right? Come get a closing.
Getting a payday, yeah. Well,
Usually has a prettier face with him.
Yeah, I do. Well, I like to say, I have a face for radio and a voice for silent movies. So thanks for having me.
I've heard the first part of that before from someone else.
Sorry.
That's hilarious.
Great. Well, a lot of changes, I guess, with the dynamic of title, and I think we've talked in the past about keeping employees right in title has been tough, but now things are going good. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about the employment sector for you?
Definitely. Yeah, we, being a small company, and being in a smaller environment here up in Kalispell, it's been really hard to find good quality employees to add to the great employees we already have. You always get a little bit of turnover, and I'm finally, knock on wood, full staff after being down one or two people for a year and a half. So just the employment pool with, we're competing with, the Starbucks, McDonald's and things like that are, paying $17.
$24 an hour now. Yeah.
It's been kind of crazy to be able to pull from that. But, luckily I found some really great quality people, and we're able to add them to our staff, and, we're at full staff and gearing up, ready to go into this fun, busy summer.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
It's going to be great.
Sure. And what do you think, I guess, I know a lot of people tend to say the contributing factor is, or the main factor that they can't get employees is not enough housing or not enough affordable housing. I've found that, that is the smaller segment of the market is houses in those, probably in the lower price bracket. But I've also heard that it's tough to find people that either, one, have the experience or two, have the education that's needed to fill the positions. Yeah. Right.
We're a little unique, because it's title and escrow. You can't go to school for it. There's no
there's no degree. Title degree, right?
There is no title degree, no. So it's hard. So a lot of times we either have to steal from other title companies, or we have to nurture and grow from within. So, that's what my philosophy has been, is to kind of try and find some people that we can grow and nurture and build a career, because, a lot of people don't think of title and escrow as a career, but it can be a very good career for the right person.
How long have you been in title?
I started in title in 1996.
Okay, so you've kind of built a career out of it.
I have.
Just kind of.
Just a little.
A little bit. I gotcha. But I'm still learning at something.
Yeah.
Almost all the time. I was at the MLTA, the Montana Land Title Association, seminars last week, and just talking to the underwriters and the other title people that have been in it for forever, and picking up on things. You're always learning something, because like real estate, things are always changing. We're always trying to look at ways to do things differently. Sure.
And it's a competitive market, but it's not as, the competition's different, right? Like there's maybe 5 title companies in Kalispell.
Yep.
And there's upwards of 1,200 realtors in Flathead County, right? So the competition is different because just the volume level, right?
Yeah, it is a little different market. I came from Colorado, so that was a much different market than it is here. It's still very competitive.
Sure.
But we play nicer. I think with each other as title companies, there's not as much
You play nicer here
here.
than Colorado.
Yes,
Okay, okay.
yeah.
Oh, geez.
I think Montana's nicer
Yeah.
in general,
Yeah.
like everywhere, you know.
Yeah.
That's nice.
It is. When I first came to town, the welcome I got from the real estate community, and even the other title companies and competitors, as somebody new to the area, it was much different than what I was expecting.
Sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah,
Yeah. I think it is the same way in our realtor community too. Like my father was a RE/MAX agent over in Washington State in, I think it was like right around 2000, and he got out at when the bubble burst when they moved over here. But I would say it was a lot more cutthroat in north of Seattle area. Like it was totally different than here.
Can imagine.
Yeah.
yeah, I've noticed that too. The realtors seem to work together a lot better here.
Co-opetition.
Exactly.
There you go.
I just learned something new about you guys too. I didn't know you expanded and have another office in Montana too.
We do. We I guess that was 2020. We opened Legacy Title of Montana in Great Falls. So we serve Cascade County over there. We took that over. They had 3 employees when I took that over, and I think we have 7 right now, maybe 8. So we're growing that market as well. I mean, that's kind of nice. Is we're looking to expand, and that's kind of.
And another thing I did. Oh, sorry, I didn't
No, go
interrupt
ahead.
you. But another thing I learned from Shane the other day is that I didn't know. Maybe you guys knew this, but I didn't know you couldn't just. It's really hard to just start one out of nowhere. You kind of have to purchase an old one, and
Yeah, I mean, you can. There's a couple different ways you can do it.
Yeah.
You can purchase a title plant or a copy of a title plant. If somebody's got a nice title plant, they typically don't want to sell it to somebody that's going to come into the market and compete against them. So you're either buying a company that somebody's looking to get out of the business, or they're failing or something, or you have to build it from scratch, which takes a lot of time and money. So that's like, everybody's like, when are you going to come to Lincoln County? It's like, I'd love to be in Lincoln County, but it's a little bit harder.
only one title company there. It
Yeah,
takes forever
and-
to close.
And they don't really want to sell me a copy of their plant.
Yeah.
Or if they did, it'd be so expensive that it wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So building one would take, it takes years to actually build a good title plant. And when I talk about a title plant, I guess I can explain.
Yeah,
what
Please
that
do.
I was just
is.
going to ask that too.
That's so what we do is the county sends us images of the documents that get recorded. And we take those images and we index them by the address, the legal description, the name. There's like 4 or 5 different things that we use to index them into what we call our plant. And that's what we search through. You can do what we call a courthouse search, which is go to the clerk and recorder, and you have to search the last or the first and last name of the buyer, the first and last name of the seller, the property address, the legal description, past owners, and you have to do those one at a time. Whereas when we put it in a plant, we do it all at once. So it kind of makes it easier for us to search those things.
And those are the listing packages that we get when we go to list a property.
Yeah, the listing package isn't a full search, but that's what
Yeah.
we use a lot for the listing packages. We just go back a little ways on those just to make sure that there's not too much. And that's
You pull last deed of conveyance and
yep.
With the title commitment.
trust documents, and that way when we list the property, we know we're dealing with the real owner.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we kind of have an idea of how much money is owed on it, when last mortgage was taken out, and then you can kind of put the pieces together on, are they upside down? How much equity they have? What can I, how can I best help them? So
Definitely.
They'll usually have covenants attached to them.
covenants. Yep.
There's covenants we attach. And that's a lot of people don't know in the real estate community that the state says we can only put 6 things in a listing package.
Oh, that's
So that's why we don't
Interesting.
include
Oh.
access things or
Okay.
septic or things like that. The state actually has in the Montana annotated code what we can and can't put in a listing
I was just
package.
going to ask that because some of the listing packages that have come from you guys have had easements attached to them, and some of them don't. They don't come till the final search right before closing.
Correct. When
So
we do our
that's why.
commitment is why when
Okay.
you get all that.
Because you can only choose 6.
We can
Interesting.
only choose we can only get those 6 items that they say we can
Wow.
put with
I
the listing
actually
package.
did not know that. I didn't know that
Yeah.
it was state law that dictated
Yeah.
you only have
I
6.
didn't know that either.
I think so many people, especially people that are not in real estate or even those that are, they have no idea how much like regulation the state has on what title companies can do, what realtors can do, what we're allowed to say. And they kind of think, I don't know, I see the picture of where it's like, well, we're just this facade of like a salesperson. It's like, no, like this is like the law. I can't do this or I have to do that. And
Why it's important to get involved and vote.
Correct. Yeah.
Real estate and government go hand in hand.
So speaking of the law and growing,
I opened up
I
again.
know. You know where I'm going with this, right?
I know.
So
filled
you
with
uniquely,
regret. No, I'm
which is what I found so interesting when I first met you, you were in Colorado doing title shortly after marijuana became legal in there.
Yes.
Yes. And so I've seen that, there's shops or grow shops that have gone up for sale, and I've seen title companies that say they can't facilitate the sale of a marijuana dispensary, and some don't make any mention of it. How do they get around that in Colorado with the federally illegal thing part? And what do you do now? Like, how do you sell property in Montana that's tied to essentially drug money, legal drug money in the state, but federally not?
Yeah. So there's a few different ways that you do it. One, we have underwriters that allow us to do that. Some underwriters won't allow their title agents to write title insurance if it is there. What we do is basically we have an exception that we put on the policy that we issue that says that if the federal government comes in and seizes this, you're on your own. Your title insurance doesn't cover you. Then, that's opening up more and more states are legalizing it, especially the recreational. The underwriters are willing to insure that. But on the flip side of that is some of them will not handle the monies because it has to go through a bank. It's FDIC. It can be considered money laundering. So that's where you're going to find some issues with some title companies that they won't handle the actual closing and the funds on it. They'll want you to use an attorney, but they will be able to do the title insurance.
So how when you've transferred these properties? I mean, are they literally showing up with? You can't close with cash, can you? Yeah, you can't.
We don't accept cash.
Right.
It's a wire or cashier's checks. There are banks that will. Deal with some of these people. There were in Colorado, there were some state charter banks.
Charter bank, yeah.
That will do that. There's a bank I learned last week, and now I can't remember the name of it, but they are doing some of that here in Montana. They've got I think they said they've got 15 different accounts that they're dealing with that are marijuana grow facilities or dispensaries, and they're looking to grow to like maybe 21. Actually, they're a credit union.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
That. So there's some things to do like that. It's can be a lucrative business. I mean, we did a lot of closings in Colorado when it first came out.
Yeah.
We've done some up here. So we kind of take it as a case by case basis. One of the things is what we require. We won't allow the buyer to come in and bring in $9,999.
Of cash at a time,
or deposit
at
one time because they're trying to
escape
some kind of
IRS.
So it's we require one wire transfer, and it's on them to figure out
how they're going to
get that
run the money. Yeah,
exactly.
And that's I had read up and I knew that charters existed. I didn't know if they existed here, but I knew Colorado that was kind of like they kind of just had to create that, like you have all this money all of a sudden, the government's charging the tax. The money has to go somewhere if you're going to send them the tax, unless you're dropping off tens of thousands of dollars at the courthouse and dollar bills,
it's kind of a crazy time, but I think you'll see in the near future the feds are going to come around.
They're going to crumble without a doubt.
There's so many states that have already kind of jumped on it. So
and then they'll federally tax it, and
exactly,
they'll be like,
why
have we been missing out on this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've heard that once they start federally taxing it, that they'll make more money than they've made even from tobacco sales.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just
Sure.
like prohibition
Yeah.
in the 20s. Like it was pointless. There's more. You're better off because people were still drinking it. You know.
Yeah.
You're better off just taxing it, making
Yeah.
it legal, and having state stores and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have some other topics that I know that we want to ask you.
Yeah.
Oh, we do.
Well, one thing that I talked about, when I went to the MLTA last week. One thing that we're looking at, and I don't like to be serious very often, but wire fraud.
That's right.
It's started up again. I mean, they're going after the buyers, and right after they see that the house has gone under contract, what we're finding out is the fraudsters are watching, really, unfortunately, realtors' emails.
Yeah.
And especially the Yahoo, Gmail, those types of accounts, because they're not as secure as some of the other ones. But they're watching that listing agent and the MLS, and when that goes from active to
Under contract.
they're watching that email, looking for that stuff to go to the buyer and the other agents and things like that. And then they see a title company email, and that's when they take our email,
Copy and paste.
copy it.
Yeah,
and
I've literally
everything
seen a
and
fake
look
one, and it
over.
looks exactly like your emails.
It is,
Yeah.
and they just change, one letter in
Yeah.
it or something like that.
Or it
so
says
that
it's from
still-
like Arizona or
Yeah.
just like one.
exactly.
thing.
So, just being, part of what my job I feel is getting the education out there, letting everybody know. We can't talk much about it because it's people are trying to steal your buyer and seller's money, and that's all there is to it. And once it's gone, it's really difficult to get back. If you don't jump on it within the first 12 to 24 hours, you probably won't get it back. So that's where, we do things. We don't email wiring instructions. Do everything through
And your realtor does
DocuSign.
not email your wiring
We
instructions.
won't send them to a realtor.
Yeah.
We won't send them to their banker, or we can send them to the banker, but we're going to do it through DocuSign,
Yeah.
which is a double authentication. And so it, for us, we take that as pretty serious and a high priority, because we don't want to have to, even though it really might not be our fault, we get blamed.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet.
There's lawsuits that we've seen that the one that comes to mind is the buyer sent in, I don't know, over $500,000. They were buying something for cash. It was their life savings. It went, to a fraudster. The money was gone. They ended up suing both realtors, Wells Fargo, who is their bank that they send it from, the title company. They named everybody they could in the lawsuit.
Wow.
So
Did they
my
win
advice
anything?
Looking for someone to blame.
yeah, and I think they did. I don't think they got their full amount back, but I think between
I'm sure errors and omissions from the realtors probably
the
picked some up.
realtors
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
because it's really hard to tell, once you get it to whose email
Whose
they
email
were
they
watching.
were watching.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I think all the insurances pitched in kind of, and they all kind of split it. But as a
Yikes.
realtor, that's something that I'd always kind of advise you is just don't play with wiring instructions. If,
Yeah.
Just get out of the
I
middle of it.
refer my
and-
clients, here's
Yeah.
the number,
Yep.
Exactly.
and call them.
And I think that kind of gets misunderstood as, they're just not wanting to be involved and they just want to, let the title company do all the work and close it. And it's like, no, like I literally,
Yeah.
I can't, I'm not wiring the money to my trust account here at Remax. Like I'm not the party who's doing it. I shouldn't be facilitating any of those numbers. I don't
Yeah.
need the bank account. Like
No,
it's
I don't
safer
want
if
Yeah.
the less
information.
people that have the information, the safer it is for everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think even back in the day, like there's a lot of people that haven't bought or sold real estate in 30 plus years, and they used to write a check. I went to go show some property, 2 hours west of here, and the lady brought her checkbook with her, and I'm like, nope, I don't take a check.
Oh my God.
I'll give you the name of the title company
Yeah.
and the number.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
that's,
But that used to
but-
be the
yeah, that
case. We
used to be
used
the
to
case,
take
yeah.
checks. Like
Yeah.
we Doug has, when I bought property through Doug still did it the old school way. And he had me write a check the day I wrote the buy-sell and to Remax Glacier Country because we've had a trust account.
Yeah, we have a trust account, don't we?
For 25 years.
Yeah.
Plus, yeah. And so you're right. And you signed on the buy-sell. There's that little spot where the agent signs that this is also an earnest money receipt. No, I've never seen that signed in, the last 100 deals I've done, except for the one that I did with an agent who's been doing it for 40 years, but because that's the way he did it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, man, that's too bad to know, too bad to hear. And you're seeing it in Montana or
seeing it in Montana?
Okay.
One of the speakers is with the Montana Title Company who's doing our legislative updates, and he said in the last month they've had 7 known attempts, and 2 of them were successful.
Oh my God!
So
I know there's been successful one. I've heard from other title companies, they've shared at the MLS meetings that there's been successful ones.
Yeah. I mean, we have, if something happens like that, at Flathead, we have a procedure, and most title companies do. They have their steps. If we know what happens, that's why we tell the buyers and everybody that if you wire us money, first you should. It says on our wiring instructions to call us and verify that they're right, and then we're going to be watching our account. If you say, "Hey, I sent this afternoon," it goes through the Fed. We expect it in a couple hours. If we don't see it, we're trying to keep an eye on that to make sure to let everybody know, okay, we've got your wire. Just because the sooner we get on it, we've got a direct connection with the CBI, the Colorado Bureau of Investigations, and that's who we kind of run our stuff through because my partners are out of Colorado.
Right.
And we kind of go through it that way. But the sooner we can get it on, they've got a pretty good success rate.
Of tracking it back and getting it back. Yeah.
So
go ahead.
When they do get it back, who is normally the person involved in this? Is it someone overseas or is it people in the United States?
No, it's typically overseas.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's typically,
So it's people from other countries.
Yeah. Yes, those other
I won't name anything. Yeah.
Eastern Asian countries.
Yeah. Good.
Sorry, no, your podcast just got flagged. They're going to be.
Oh yeah, the YouTube algorithm just.
So,
Red flag.
Yeah. Well, if there's anything else that you want to discuss, let's.
I could talk about title insurance for hours. It's such a fun and sexy kind of.
It's not just a dusty old deed in your safe, all right?
Yeah, it's no.
So I guess a question I have when I'm working with first-time home buyers or people who just maybe haven't done this for a while, their first question when I say, okay, everything's going to title, they're going to start the title search, like, what's title insurance? So if you have just kind of a general overview of what title insurance is, what it provides people, that you can tell us.
Yeah, sure.
Good.
So basically, title insurance is we're ensuring that they get clean title to the property. But really, it's, you've got your title side of things and then your settlement side as well. So the title side, that's the actual title insurance. That's the commitment. That's where they do all the research. That's where we look back and make sure that the person, is selling the property is the right person, that they have the authority to do so. That's why we'll look at trust docs and LLC docs and things like that to make sure that if Mark is the manager of his LLC, that he actually has the authority to do that. That's why we want to see that operating agreement that tells us who can sign the documents. Same with the trust and with the trustees and who has the right to sell those properties. On the other side of it is the settlement services. That's the escrow side that you hear that called. Like a lot of people say, oh, we're in escrow.
Yeah.
And so where that the closers, they're the ones that look at the title commitment and the requirements and exceptions, and that's where we list all the judgments and liens and loans that are on the property. And they go about getting payoffs and clearing the title, if you will. We're looking back into the history of the property to make sure that there's no what we call clouds on title, which is, maybe a deed got recorded and the person signed it with a different name or something like that. So we're looking for anything. There might be a loan, a deed of trust that from 2 owners ago that wasn't reconciled or it wasn't released. So those are what we call clouds on title. So that's the title side does that research. The escrow side kind of fixes anything that needs to be fixed and handles the monies, the documents, and all of those things.
Gotcha. So it's a little more involved than just 2 old ranchers shaking hands and filling out a quitclaim deed, and then woo, there we go.
Yeah, technically you can do that.
Technically,
you can
yes.
technically you can do that. You don't have to get title insurance. I wouldn't recommend it, especially in today's world with
Yeah, I think that's the key takeaway there is nothing is what it was 100 years ago, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
There's reasons why you use title. And
Realtor.
why you use a realtor.
Yep.
Exactly.
Because like we talked about in the beginning, we know, or we should know, if we read our listing package,
Yeah.
whether we're working with the real seller or not.
Correct. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
her name's Anna Dolphy.
Exactly. Yes.
I don't know who that is. You'll have to fill me in on this joke later.
You gotta watch that show.
Yeah. So
I just told you about that show.
Yeah.
so there's been obviously been lawsuits and stuff over that type of thing in the past.
Yes. Yeah. It can get pretty hairy. I mean, I was in Colorado a couple of weeks ago, and I just happened to stop in my old office and heard the conversation that there was a partnership that was selling a property, and they just found out that the guy they've been dealing with isn't really a part of the partnership.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, they had reached out to, again, that's what comes from when we look at those and review those.
And you look at what percentage of
Agreements.
ownership they
that's-
have and all those things.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yes.
That's why you need that operating agreement, because they might be a partner,
Yeah.
but they're 5% and they don't have a say in
Yeah.
anything.
Exactly.
And titles of different people in a corporation or whatever means something too.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, just
So-
because you're
See, this is where good brokers, good agents, we know these kind of things. We know what to look for. We've educated ourselves. We got a good title company to back us.
Yep.
This is all part of the real estate profession.
Exactly. We're all a team. We're all partners, and we all have the same goal.
Correct. Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for joining us and yeah, filling
Yeah, thank you,
filling our
Matt.
heads with all that knowledge.
My pleasure.
I
My
think
pleasure.
we all
I
learned
could,
something.
I
today.
did. Yeah,
Yeah, I did. Yep.
definitely. Well, thank you for watching. And if you would, please hit that subscribe button. We would love to keep you informed on Montana real estate.